In this video, we're going to return to the COMSOL Multiphysics desktop and explore one more feature that comes with the recent version of the program. This feature is called the Application Builder. We're going to use the builder in order to set up a basic graphical user interface, and by mixing it with the programming similar to what we've done before, we're going to create an application that now can be operated by others without us being involved. Let's return to our solved and modified version of the model. As you know by now, we have this tree here on the left that contains all the elements that are specific to the model. Now we're going to create a new layer that is going to serve as an interface between the model and the user, and we're going to use the application builder in order to build it. So this tree here on the left, for a change, will contain all the elements that are specific to that application layer. There are many different ways how we can customize the graphical user interface, and I will not discuss all of these aspects here in this video. I think it's more of a topic for the entire new series of videos. So now we're going to stay focused on just solving this Maxwell to SPICE conversion problem. So in order to start, we need to create at least some basic graphical background to be displayed to the user. So if we right click on Forms, we're going to activate this basic wizard, and this wizard already contains some suggestions what we can choose as input or what we can choose as output. So for example, our model has 6 different input parameters, and if you remember, port name perhaps isn't something that we'd like to let the users manipulate with. So let's for example choose these 5 to be 5 different input channels for the model. If we press OK, we can see that we have this basic form, and anything that is going to be changed here will have exactly the same effect as if we went here to the parameters and changed it here. So next I'm going to switch to the grid view, because the grid makes it much more easier to arrange the elements. It will work just like a table in Excel. So we're going to prepare this interface and to contain 2 tables, one storing the SPICE elements and the other one storing the Maxwell's elements. And then we're going to add a method to convert the numbers between one and the other. So let's add a new row and put a text label called SPICE matrix. Sorry, Maxwell's matrix. We're going to convert from Maxwell to SPICE, so it's Maxwell matrix. And create a new column, and we can copy and paste this description here, and just pay attention, because even they look the same, there actually isn't the same. This one is called text label 6 and this one is called text label 7. And the reason I'm telling you this now is that if you're thinking of expanding the interface, it's very important to keep all the names of things different, just as important it used to be to make sure that all the tags were unique. So this is the text label 6, this is text label 7. But we're not going to stay with Maxwell. This one will be called SPICE matrix, and if we add a new row, we can add a result table, and this result table will contain all the Maxwell's data. So obviously it is lacking a reference. If we try to execute this application, we already have the error saying the derived value reference of a form object does not point to a valid source. Simply, this table doesn't know where to take the data from. So if we go here to the source, we can expand the model tree and choose table number 1 to serve as reference. So anything that this table will contain is going to be displayed in here. Now we can create a similar box for the SPICE data. So again, a results table, and here we need to add an empty table to serve as a reference. So if we go here and create an empty table, then we can use this container to assign it to table number 2. And you might wonder why I'm doing that, because as you know, we can use the code to create, to update the model builder, the model tree. Well, the reason I'm not doing that is because every graphical element that exists within the interface needs to point to something that already is defined, so there's no updating the interface on the go. Okay, Now we have a basic interface having 5 different inputs and 2 different outputs, but we haven't created anything to convert Maxwell to Spice matrix. And just in case we have those data wiped out, we need to find a way to recreate them. So I think it will be very wise to create a button that will help to recompute the results. So we can assign a function to this button. So if we expand this model tree here, select study 1, then we can double click on run, just single click on run, and anytime we press button 1, it will have exactly the same effect as if we went here and pressed compute. So why not calling this button compute? I think that will be more meaningful. So compute, and now if we press compute, the model will recalculate the data. As you remember, the next thing that we did after calculating the data was going into the right values, and we used to press this evaluate button. So we can either create a new button to perform an additional feature, or we can just give this button 2 functions. So if we then go to results, derived values, global matrix evaluation, well, we can click here, and every time we press this button, it's going to recompute the entire model and extract those data. The last thing to do is to add the method that is going to transform this data from Maxwell to Spice. So if we go on the methods, we create a new method, and let's call it transform. Here we have the text field where we can put the Java code. Since we already developed the code in the last video, I'm just going to copy and paste the method. And let's paste the body here. And there are 3 important updates that we need to give to this code. The first thing is, well, the bugs will always haunt you, so let's just update it here, and that will be okay. The very important thing is, if we scroll down, actually there was a single line in this code asking console to create a new table on the go, and since this table already exists and we have no way of removing it, because that will make the interface not work properly, then we need to erase this number. So let's just comment it out. And the second thing is, if you open the language element tab, here we have a very big source of help, because that allows to, for example, if you don't know how if statement is defined, you can use this as a hint. And there are also a lot of different methods that are already defined in console. So I was complaining that we had no way of transforming the string matrix into a matrix of numbers, but here actually we do. So if we double click on this, we expand on conversions, matrix conversions, then we have this double, taking string matrix as argument. So if we double click on that, we can then take the array temp and replace string matrix with it. And instead of defining a new variable, we're going to reuse the old one. So by doing that, we're able to eliminate this double for loop, so our code already becomes more compact. Okay, let's return to the form and this button here. If you look at the button, it performs 2 commands. One is to recompute the model, the other one is to evaluate the global matrix, which will populate the Maxwell's matrix. So the last thing that we need to do is to appoint this new command to transform the data. So if we go here, we can expand on methods. We have transform, so we can double click, and now this button will perform these 3 commands in this particular sequence. So let's test the application. Alright, there we have this very, very basic graphical user interface for working with a 4-electrode capacitance problem. So let's test it. If we press compute, now you can have an indication that console is performing the calculations, and indeed we have the Spice matrix taken from the Maxwell's matrix, exactly same numbers. So just to test that everything works properly, let's change R1 to 2, which will make this first circle twice as big, if we press compute again, now all these numbers will be different. And there you have it. Working with the application builder, as you've seen, is pretty straightforward. It provides you with a lot of features that can really help you to customize the applications depending on the user's needs. In the next video, we're going to explore the last feature in this series, namely the console to method live link. So I hope you'll stay with me, and thank you for watching.